demonstrated play. And to get that play in order, you have to get all the players in the sky. But coming up next, Rob, is your Dolphin helicopter.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, to show left, if you look high and to the left, you'll see the Coast Guard MH-65E Dolphin helicopter. This helicopter is capable of speeds up to 175 knots. It's equipped with one of the most advanced navigation and avionics packages of any military aircraft anywhere. You see the helicopter move forward, begin to transition into a hover. However, finding a person in the water can be extremely difficult, so it's very important that boaters always wear reflective life jackets and carry internationally recognized signaling devices such as flares or position indicating beacons to assist the Coast Guard in their search. So you see now the helicopter is transitioning into that mode where they are looking for a swimmer. If you can imagine, they're out over the water and you can see our swimmer, down in the water, the stranded boater that has just released some smoke out there to be identified, and you see the helicopter transitioning into a hover. We've also been joined here on the stage by Mr. Russell Royce. Russell, tell us about what we're seeing here.
Well, Rob, what's really interesting in this stage of flight for the Coast Guard is the crew inside the helicopter is transitioning to a mode where the pilot can no longer fly the helicopter reference to the survivor on the ground. So the pilot gets commands from the rescue swimmer that's looking out the door. He'll say something along the lines of 5 feet forward, 5 feet right, 5 feet left. And the pilot will adjust the helicopter, reference the commands of the rescue swimmer, and then hold that position.
Yeah, absolutely, Russell. And you see, folks, you can see the flight mechanic. He has the legs dangling out the right side of the aircraft there as the aircraft is now transitioned to that full hover that Russell described. And the pilots and the flight mechanic will shortly carefully lower the rescue swimmer down to the survivor and assess their condition and render first aid. So let's watch now. You see the rescue swimmer coming out of the helicopter.
You know, Rob, this hits home for a lot of people here in Houston after Hurricane Harvey, because these guys would fly 12 to 16-hour shifts nonstop all day, pulling people off of roofs or out of their house or in any way that they needed help. And this is what they were doing during Hurricane Harvey. They'd hover over a roof, the rescue swimmer would come down, assess the survivor, pass the information through hand signals back up to the helicopter, and then they could pass that information on to medical personnel on the ground.
Yeah, so they're prepared when they get there. Now watch now, ladies and gentlemen, the helicopter. We've got the rescue swimmer on the ground. He's talking to the survivor there on the taxiway. If you could just imagine them in the water or on a rooftop in a flooded area right here in Houston, they're going to assess that passenger just as we described. And now you'll see the helicopter. Look out the right side of the helicopter. If you can't see that, you'll see it drop below here in just a second. Here comes the rescue basket that Russell just described. They're going to lower that down now for our survivor. Once that's done, normally the helicopter, if the swimmer has to go a distance to get to the survivor, Russell, they go into a little bit of an orbit, because to hover directly above the swimmer and the survivor, there's a lot of rotor wash, and so they try to hover and turn into a little bit of a racetrack to get that off of the folks in the water.
Well, and another really interesting thing about helicopters is helicopters fly differently when they're in a hover like we're seeing right here versus when they're moving. So you can imagine they're doing this right here in the middle of 30, 40 mile per hour winds in pitching seas.
Absolutely. So now you can see the rescue basket had been signaled for. It came down. We put the survivor in it. This is obviously, like Russell said, one of the Coast Guard's most recognizable devices. And ladies and gentlemen, taxiing in front of you is Miss Debbie Wren Harvey. Be sure to give her a big wave as she comes by, as we keep our eye on the Coast Guard helicopter out there that now has the survivor hoisted back up into the helicopter. Our rescue swimmer, think about how good of a swimmer you've got to be a rescue swimmer, Russell. Not only do you get down there, but you're in the water, treading water while they pull the survivor back up to the helicopter.
I've never met someone more in shape than a Coast Guard rescue swimmer. So, Rob, what's really interesting is the crew chief in the back of the aircraft will be, again, the pilot can't see anything, so he'll relay to the pilot by looking out the door. He'll say things like survivor in the basket, basket coming up, basket at the door, basket in the door. Rescue swimmers attached, rescue swimmers being hoisted up. He'll say rescue swimmer at the door. Then he'll say rescue swimmer secured inside the cabin.
And that's about what's to happen right in front of us, Russell, as you see the rescue swimmer just now all the way back up to the helicopter. And you can appreciate the skill of these pilots and crew members when you can see this being done right in front of you, ladies and gentlemen. Just imagine this. This frequently happens on a dark night in driving rain, high seas, and strong winds. So much more adverse conditions than we have here today. But you see our folks from the United States Coast Guard demonstrating this amazing capability right in front of you here, ladies and gentlemen. Now the helicopter, once they get the patient and the swimmer back safely inside, the crew will head to the nearest hospital, airport, or transport the survivor for further treatment. We'll begin to see the helicopter begin to transition, and they're going to turn around and make a pass back before the crowd here, Russell.
I'll tell you another really neat thing that the Coast Guard does that you don't really see anywhere else. So to extend the range of the helicopter, what they will do is they will fly behind a boat out in the ocean. They'll go down with a hook, pick up a fuel line, and while flying along at 30 miles per hour, they will refuel the helicopter in the air from a boat to extend their range.
Yeah, that's absolutely phenomenal. So in this demonstration today, ladies and gentlemen, the pilots are Lieutenant Commander Mike Freeman and Lieutenant Jordan Tolfrey. One more pass from your right to your left. Let's give the United States Coast Guard a huge round of applause. Be sure to wave as they come by. I promise you, they can see you. Let them know how grateful we are for them being here today and what they do for us each and every day.
Coast Guard,
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes the Coast Guard flight demonstration for today. On behalf of the Coast Guard Air Station Houston's commanding officer, Captain Ryan Matson, and the men and women of the Coast Guard Air Station Houston, it's an honor to serve you and the Houston community. One more, ladies and gentlemen, let's give it up one more time for the United States Coast Guard. Woo! Spanky, I think we're going to do